that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah. Open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AoA, check me out. Look, plugged in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AoA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with my boys, Isaiah.
Yo, yo, yo.
And Gavin.
What pancake is flipping?
The middle one. We are talking today about Attack on Titan Season 4, Episode 1, the long-awaited premiere. This one's called The Other Side of the Ocean. Whew, man, was this epic is the only word I can use, and I don't say that unironically for this episode. This was just absolutely off-the-wall bonkers. Super excited to talk about it. Really excited to know your thoughts on the matter as well. But yeah, let's just hop into this discussion. Listen, guys, if you like the content today, you like what it is that we do, you want to see more, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, sharing with your friends, and commenting your thoughts down below. What did you think of our discussion today? What did you think about the season premiere of Attack on Titan? And what are your thoughts on this series as a whole? Where do you think it goes from here? Let us know all those thoughts in the comments down below. But yeah, so this episode we see Marley's side, right? Hence the other side of the ocean.
Yep.
Which it seems that even next episode, which we'll get into, we're gonna go a little deeper into their more personal lives, it seems. But this one was war, right? This is the throes of war, and it's essentially if I had to equate it, they are in the World War I era. But with Titans is essentially what the deal is here, and how do they utilize them. But something I found super interesting is that the era of Titans, as they say, is coming to an end because human technology is advancing. So, and don't get me wrong, they're a huge advantage still if you utilize them properly, but they could be like a silver bullet, right? Because it's like or glass cannon, if you mess it up, you can't distribute it, like you're out. Which is why this war is waged. We find out that this is a 4-year war. We have this time skip going forward, and Marley's been in this 4-year war with some Eastern enemy, and we get to see how war is conducted with an enemy that has good technology, technology that's on par with your nation, and how Titans are incorporated into this. So it was insane. But I mean, I think I want to talk about the Eldians, who are still brainwashed, obviously, the young children, and some of the adults, who basically have to fight this war for them, right? Have to fight the war for the Marleyans because they're constantly sent to the front line to get slaughtered. They get literally dropped as Titans. That scene was insane. They're just killed in masses, and then all the credit goes to Marley, right? But it was cool to get a little bit of a perspective, into some of our characters that I don't know if we're going to continue to go on with them, but some of the young kids. And apologies, I don't remember all their names right off the bat. We literally just came off the ends of this, and I'm just there's explosions raining in my head from everything that just happened this episode, so bear with us. But the young children and everything that it is they had to do. So, Gavin, you had an interesting theory, and I don't know if this is literally because the art style is similar, being that the studio changed, and that, Eldians kind of can look the same, you know what I mean? Being that they're from the same continent or wherever. But you were talking about something that had to do with maybe relation to pre-existing characters. I don't know if you still think that or...
Yeah, honestly, I have no clue because, to be fair, it's been a little bit since we've actually covered Attack on Titan. Like, it's been probably about a year, but it was interesting how off the bat we got that little tidbit of the blonde-haired kid who had the big-ass forehead and the bands around him. That's how I'm referring to him. I loved it. It got me cracking up. But it was interesting because he made a comment to where he was like, when he didn't remember anything. He's like, I remember, Titans and, wielding a sword and things of that nature. So my first the first thought that came to my mind was obviously, in Paradise Island, that's what they use. They use the ODM gear, which is the swords, and they're killing Titans. So right off the bat, I was like, okay, whether it's, him in a past life or something like that, or maybe there's some weird thing, because I know a comment that we all made as watching it is the little girl who was an absolute baller kind of reminded us of Hanj a little bit, just with that mindset. And it's weird if this is almost like a rebirth in a sense, or I really don't know what to make of it, because it's weird how there's just like these younger characters who remind us already of just older characters that we like used to mess with. And I feel like this is the type of show which would like somehow intertwine their existence together. So I don't know if this kid, maybe it's in a past life, or maybe because it seems young, or he's like reborn in this other state, and you know, those memories are connecting or colliding somehow. I don't know. I could just be talking out of my left cheek and probably am, but I'm interested how when we move forward and they give us more of these tidbits and, you know, these like partial jogged memories, how they're all going to intertwine to the story that we know. And, you know, obviously how it keeps on building in the future in terms of just what is going on. Yeah. Because we still don't know, and it's on the final season. So it's just crazy, and I can't wait to just watch it to fruition. It's going to be awesome. Yeah.
This show has been basically just questions, the show of 100%. Questions, like why, what, when, where, how. We need these things answered, and it's so fun going along this ride, everything in between, getting from question to answer or another question, right? And I think it's interesting your you know, just your little theory / observation there. So I don't know if it's something along the lines of, you know, Eldians, like I said before, like just generally might look similar, right? If you come from a certain bloodline or whatever the case might be, right? It's like if you handpick 2 people out of Russia or Germany or China or wherever, you know what I mean? Where the general population for the most part is the same, like they'd probably look somewhat alike, right? You'd be able to pick out similarities. So I don't know if it's just that or not, but I also think there's a deeper thing with the Eldians, which we've kind of been alluded to in the Titans, but that there's like some neural connection, not just, and I wonder if it's not just Titans, but it's actually the Eldian people as a whole. So when Ymir took this power initially, being an Eldian, and kind of gave the Eldians the ability to become a Titan, I wonder if the fact that they have the blood coursing through their veins, that just allows them to be like a Titan, even if they are not a Titan necessarily, if they are connected in some way, shape, or form, because that would maybe explain why the young boy who has these memories on the brink of death has these memories when he is seemingly, you know, he couldn't be any older than 14, I would assume. And he's never been to that island. He's never been to Paradise. He's not a Titan, etc. So that would be interesting as well. I don't know if you had any thoughts, Isaiah, and I know you had some you were definitely going at in the live reaction about like how we all were about how messed up it was, the way that Marley was using these people, not just as fodder, but like the way that they talk to them and the way that they condition these Eldians to think about themselves, you know?
Yeah, it was definitely like, you know, your typical like war, like, hey, our country is the best ever, and everyone else is super evil villains. So like, that's how you should look at them, and there's no gray area in that. You know, which is not right, but like that's what every country does in a war, right? No country's like, actually the kids and men and women you're shooting are pretty decent people. But one of the things, I mean, to be honest, my thing about this episode is like it definitely felt like Mappa just kind of like being like, let us show you that we can handle creating an Attack on Titan episode. Like, you want to see Sakuga? We got Sakuga. You want to see giant naked Titans eating and running around and throwing things at people? We got you. You want to see like war and people doing crazy we got this. And I definitely after this episode am convinced that, I mean, not that I was like, you know, one of the people before this that was like, oh, they're not going to be able to do it. But this was dope. I mean, it was just like a straight, you know, Sakuga hype fest of like just you know what I mean? Like there was just so much happening. The Titans, I found myself, because the Titans are, I guess, innately such a more interesting like thing to like as far as the lore in this world, where it's like, you know, each of these sides has their soldiers and all their different technology and equipment, and all of that's cool, but like giant like naked dudes running around with face plates and like they're just so much more interesting like of character. So like I found myself at one point being like, oh yeah, like fuck them up, like, and I'm like, oh wait, no, aren't they the bad guys, right? Like, all right, never mind. But like, come on, they're really cool. Like, so it was just, I don't know. It was really dope. Absolutely, I loved it.
No, for sure. So many things to unpack this episode. Real quick, I did want to just get into a couple quick fire what we thought of because we were talking about this briefly, and I'm sure this is a big topic of conversation now that the first episode is aired. But what do we think about the animation, the OP, the ED, some of the minor tweaks that you may or may not have noticed in it? And I know Isaiah had just said that overall Mappa has probably shown a good job that they can handle an episode, but I'm curious if you guys had any thoughts above that. I know we were talking about the OP and the EDs, and none of us, I don't really think, mess with the music, as it were, but I think the visuals were something that were really cool in this. And another thing I was saying is I really appreciated that in this OP, it left a lot up to the imagination in terms of the actual animation that was shown. Like, a lot of times you see in OPs, like, very spoiler heavy content, you know, within it. But I like that it was like kind of left up to, you know, these like statuesque things with they love colors. They love the like paint shooting in these OPs. But, you know, just in general, that it was like, it left a lot up to your imagination. Is like, why are these statues falling? What is the symbolism of, like, do they represent these people, etc. But, you know, I was curious to hear your thoughts on animation, all that kind of stuff. Gavin, I know you had some thoughts on animation, but let us know what you thought of everything.
Okay, so I guess I'll start with the OP and ED, just piggybacking off of it. It's nice and bad in ways with me, because I know one of the contentions we had with the prior season was that the OP gave away way too much. Like, you were watching it and you're like, oh my God, this almost feels like it's spoiling it. And I know I wasn't the only one, because many people had felt that, or had that same feeling. And I feel like with this OP, they took the other route where they were like, okay, less is more. But I found myself when I was watching it, like, there was that one panel of like that cloud scene when they were like showing the names, and it felt like it was there for like almost 7 seconds. And I'm kind of like, okay, is there a way that we maybe can bridge it so like there is a little bit of stuff going on screen and not just, you know, the more abstract things? And it's like, I understand why you do it. You don't want to give it too much away. You know, you want it to be this happy medium, but then, like, I don't know. I feel like they could have tweaked it a little bit better in some areas, but either way, you're just nitpicking at that point. With the song choice itself, I liked the song, but I feel like it didn't fit this show and this world as well as other ones have done.
Okay, interesting.
Because, I don't know, like, even when we listened to it, we're like, or at least me, I was like, this is dope. It just doesn't feel very Attack on Titan. And that kind of goes with the ED for me as well. I'm like, dope, but is this Attack on Titan? Yeah. And, you know, maybe when we just watch it a couple more times as the new episodes come out, it'll just grow on me. But I don't know. I guess I'm still left to really feel how I mess with it later on. But for now, after the first episode, I'm back and forth. I could go with either or. With the actual animation itself, I know one of the things that we talked about off camera was the CGI that was incorporated. For me, it actually didn't bother me as much. I feel like it was more poorly executed in the prior season compared to this one, although you obviously still see it, and, you know, it can be an eyesore. I just felt it as a little bit less of an eyesore compared to last year. But, you know, to each their own. Some people like CGI, some people don't, and I'll leave that opinion for when I pass the mic to you guys. Although with the normal animation, no, CGI aside, I don't know if it was just me, but I did kind of feel a difference from season 3 in terms of it not being as refined as prior seasons that we've seen before. And again, I'm nitpicking at that point, because all in all, I was with it. I was enthralled, and it didn't really bother me. It was something that came in the back of my mind where I was like, I think I need to rewatch some of the episodes in season 3, because I feel like just there was more detail in each stroke. And again, I'm grasping for straws at that point. Mappa still did a really great job, and I hope that they continue this momentum moving forward, and I'm sure that they have, with producing some great visuals, because let me tell you, they treated us this episode, and that was about it. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that's about it for me. I'm curious about your guys' opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have anything to add, Isaiah?
So OP and ED, I didn't really like any. I don't know. I feel like visually, it's a little boring, like
a little lacking.
I actually feel like the OP for the last season, I'm one of those people. I actually didn't mind it. I don't think it was too spoilery. I think like that was, at least for me, was more in the camp of like giving you just enough. Because my thing is like, I like seeing something in the OP like visually and being like, oh, what does that mean? And then like 12 episodes or 10 episodes, you go in, you're like, oh wait, they told, like they hinted at that from the gate. So I actually feel like the last season's opening did that pretty well. I don't think it was like a huge, like, I don't have to watch the show. Yeah. But I feel like this season is like you were saying, like dialing it back on the other end, where it's like, I feel like I just saw 2 visuals the whole time. And I'm like, I don't know what any of that means, or like what I saw, why it mattered. Like, and it feels like maybe a response to like, all right, let's not try to give away anything. But, you know, that's that. I didn't really like the music either, like just as a song, to be honest, or like as a fit for the show. I did really like the animation though. I'm not like one of the, I'm not a CGI like bothered guy. I'm not too good. I mean, like if it's like super, like CGI model, hand drawn model. But I wasn't bothered by it. I thought everything blended pretty well, and there was no moment where I was like, ooh, look at that CGI thing in like this anime world. I don't know. I wasn't. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm not super snobby, I guess, when it comes to that stuff to begin with, but like it looked beautiful. It looked really good, and I'm excited to see more. We've seen a lot of what Mappa's already put out, and again, sort of echoing a little bit what I said before, like I don't really think that I was never really concerned, right? I mean, they're a quality studio and they've put out quality stuff before. So yeah, I've with everything except the music.
Yeah, no. Fair points. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with the music. Is that I'm like still, I don't know. I'm just like kind of take it or leave it. But I guess when it's coming down to, do you like this as an OP, ED, whatever, it's like, the music's, all right. Like I said, I liked the visuals, but I do agree. I actually think my favorite OP in Attack on Titan is in season 2, actually. And it's, I think there's a point I'd have to pull it up for, if anyone was interested, but it basically bridges the gap, in my opinion, between that because it shows a lot of like action shots and the relevant characters within the story, but it doesn't show them doing anything like literally a scene cut out of the anime. You know what I mean? If it is, it's like, it's pretty ambiguous, but it still gives us like, oh, there's Reiner, or oh, there's Ezekiel, or oh, there's Eren, etc. So I think bridging the gap is definitely where you want to be with that kind of stuff. I don't know how many episodes this is going to be in total, or if they're going to change it along the course, but we'll have to see. As far as the animation's concerned, I'm definitely more of a stickler when it comes to CGI. So like my eye immediately catches that like within a split second, and I'm like, okay, let's see what we're going to do. I do have to say, though, for as much as I detest CGI, I actually think they pulled off CGI quite well in this, and there were very few times where I was like, literally like, ugh, you know what I mean, in it, if really any. Like its worst moments were not all that bad, but I do think that something in season 3, and that I hope that they do, which they did do a little bit, and it wasn't all CGI, but like, I like the stills of the Titans, or when they're doing like very like not intricate tasks, like they're doing like very, like they're grabbing a person, or when the Beast Titan picks up a bunch of the mortar shells at that one part, things like that. Like I think the art style that they had in season 3 showed like how menacing they were when they did that, and it showed this like air of terror. Whereas I feel like a lot of times CGI benefits from the more heavy hitting and fast-paced action, where like Reiner's running and wiping out a bunch of cannons, or like going fast. Like that's when you benefit, because it's like, okay, now we can have those shots, right? And you kind of had to, because the battle was just so large scale. But like I said, I like those moments when it's like maybe the Beast Titan's like just winding up, because when he winds up with the rock in season 3, they don't have CGI, and I love that. I love that moment personally from there. Whereas he does virtually the same thing in here with the mortar shells, and for me, it was like I noticed it, so it was whatever. I mean, I can nitpick all day, but bottom line is that I think they're doing CGI well. I just hope they don't abuse it. And I hope that they don't. I only hope they opt for it when it's like absolutely necessary, and not every time a Titan's on screen, right? Like that'll get old pretty quick for me. In terms of the animation beyond that, I liked it. I thought it was pretty damn similar in a lot of respects. You could tell that it's slightly tweaked, but I think one of the most important things for me is that they captured those moments of terror. Which is something that really sticks in my mind from the prior seasons, is like whenever a Titan's over them and they just have that look, like that dark shadow, you know what I mean, in their face, where it's like they look terrified, you know what I mean? Or like those still shots and you're like, dude, what is this guy thinking right now, right? Like I thought they captured those moments really well, which were some of the standout points to me in terms of animation in prior seasons. So I'm pretty confident in it, and I like what I see so far. But now that that's out of the way, we don't have to talk about that again for the rest of it. Figured I'd just sweep that under the rug, get it out of the way in the first episode here. But now getting back into the episode, we had, like I said, this war. We went a little bit into some of the kids. Let's talk about the commander, no, not the commanders. I'm sorry. The young girl, I want to say it's like Gabby. It's like Gibi.
It's the only one I remember.
Yeah. Let's talk about her, because this little girl's a spitfire, and is incredibly ambitious and ballsy. She'd have to carry around the cart titan to drag around those balls that she had when she was going in this, but she is devoted to getting that next armored titan position, because as she says, it's like, hey, Reiner's going to pass it up. We know that the Titans have a curse of if I'm not mistaken, 13 years where they're gonna die, and we've had roughly, if I'm not mistaken, at least a 6, maybe 9 year. I want to say it was 9 years.
Was a 9-year gap.
It was like a 9-year gap. So if Reiner's had it for a little bit, point being, he's not going to have it for much longer, a couple years if he lives, right? Yeah. So somebody's got to take up the mantle, and this is kind of how they separate the wheat from chaff, I guess. If you live or show acts of incredible bravery or resiliency or whatever. And Gabby is not losing her chance to do it. So that tank comes around, the anti-armor tank that could rip Titans up with really no problem at all. And, she's like, let me do it. You know what I mean? He's like, all right, and like that scene in general, when I saw that, I was like, we were all during that reaction, like, are you kidding? Like, she just walked up there and had that thing strapped around her foot. Like, that was incredible. I'm really curious to see if that character, like what that character does throughout the season, if it's even relevant, if this is just like a day in the life type thing and we don't really see her much anymore, if it's like, no, she's literally going to get the armored Titan and like actually plays a pivotal role in the story. I'm very curious because Reiner as an individual has been through the ringer, dude. That guy's gotten his ass whooped so many times and whooped ass, and just like he's literally he's cracking at the seams. He thinks he's like on one side or the other, and he genuinely doesn't know. He failed the mission with Ezekiel. Ezekiel even makes a mention. He's like, that's why we're in this mess, because we failed. I would wager he might be ready to give it up, right? Because he's like, I'm tired of these walls when he goes in, right? He's like ready to just... And I'm curious, though, to see someone now like Abby, if she gets it, that is like gung-ho about being like, I'm going to, destroy the enemy and do whatever it takes to win this. Like, could be a very different fighting style, very different utilization of that Titan, because it kind of goes off your personality and DNA.
I kind of feel like it's going to be like, so one of the kids that we met, the one that I was drawn to the most was the blonde kid. Yeah. Because, like, most of them, at least for me, are, like, all kind of people cut from the same cloth, right, when it comes to this war idea, because they're all some version of, like, a child soldier, right, who's trying to impress said, leaders so that they can be the next armored Titan. Like, oh, look how good I did. Look how much I contributed for my country. Where this kid was, like, seemed to be the only one that kind of stopped and smelled the flowers a little bit and was like, well, hold on. Like, what's actually going on here? So I think it would be interesting for him to be the one that gets it, just because I feel like the mindset Gabby's in now was probably a very similar mindset to what Reiner was in when he first got it. True. Where it's like he's all gung-ho and he's like, yo, let me get this. Let me fuck these dudes up. I'm going to do right. But like, as we see where Reiner is now, I imagine the people who are in Gabby's like method of thinking think that at first.
Sure.
But X 9+ years later or whatever, that breaks you emotionally, mentally, psychologically. And so, but my point being is that I think somebody going into it with a different mindset of not just like, cool, I have this, let me fight, kill for my country. Yeah. Somebody who's like actually interested in changing things, like might be able to utilize that, if anything, to just sort of divert the course of like this constant cycle of like.
My only thing is, would they give it to him? You know what I mean? Like that's
so
my thing.
I had a little bit on that because obviously as a character, we would want him to have it because, he's more compassionate. But for the Marlians, it's pretty apparent that they're ruthless and bloodthirsty, and Gabby fits that role for them, where I feel like they wouldn't be so willing to give it to this kid who hasn't bought into their philosophy, which is quite apparent because on the battlefield, he's trying to help the enemies, and they even kind of crack a couple jokes about it, like, dude, like, they're the enemy, what are you doing? And this is what this guy is saying, like, why are you showing compassion for him? So what I'm more curious is Gabby makes a comment where it's like, oh, that kid is almost like predetermined to have like fill in the role of the armor Titan. So I wonder what status he holds above those kids, because Gabby, it was alluded to that she is the smartest in the classroom, and that you already got the armor Titan in the bag, blah blah blah, and then they were like, oh no, but this kid is actually like the next one on the pedestal who's going to get it. So I wonder what makes him stand out overall compared to the other kids, especially when you have a seemingly powerhouse like Abby, who not only supposedly has the grades, but also the grit and determination to do the dirty work, quite literally, and put her life on the line. So I'm curious what his stance in all this, where he came from, what does he have, and to what level is he better compared to the other kids down the road. Sure. So I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, I wonder, too, if it's going to be something where it's like she is going to be the one that was supposed to get it, but then like he gets it by chance, like some crazy thing happens.
So that's what I was saying.
Harbors
or like
resentment
he
against him.
Somehow.
Yeah,
like he's not, they're not going to give it to him.
Sure.
He's obviously, in their eyes, not a good candidate. But for purpose of the story, that doesn't mean you can't get it. So like,
no, that's a good catch. I mean, I think it could very well end up that way, and she'll definitely harbor resentment against him because, you know, like we said, for all intents and purposes, she seems to be the number one candidate. Because there's also, too, it's like having the mindset, like you were saying, is one thing, right? Being like, oh, I'll do whatever. But talk is talk and walk is walk. And like, there are probably plenty of kids that are saying, yeah, sure, I'll do that, or I'll die for my country, or like that. But this chick, like, literally, you know what I mean? Like, she walked the walk. Like, she's like got, you know, iron skin. Like, it's insane. But so that'll be interesting, seeing all that kind of stuff. And it was really sad. You know, you see Colt was his name, the guy who saved the blonde kid. He's the other blonde guy, crying when they were, you know, throwing the Titans off of the, or the people that turned into Titans out of the blimp, you know, to just crash land onto this fort. You know, because those are his people just getting slaughtered or slaughtering other people. And it's like just incredibly barbaric, you know what I mean? And that, and like, again, with this technology now, it's not like we've seen in the prior 3 seasons where it's like, hit him in the nape, or otherwise it's like, no, like they literally just blast a tank shot through their head and it's like, they're done. You know, it's like they're ripping them apart. They're flesh at the end of the day. They're just large. So really scary stuff to see, and it really just highlighted the atrocities of war. But I thought they did it incredibly well in this, where you were just like, you were hyped but disgusted, and you didn't know how to feel. It was like you were sad at the same time for these people. And then at one point I remember saying, like, why am I rooting for Reiner? You know, because like he was going, and like you want them to win, but it's like, why do I even want them to win? It was just like wild thing going on, you know, throughout the entirety of the episode. But like incredible hype moments all around. Like they just executed the actual imagery and animation of them, you know, coming out of the plane, you know, the fights themselves, the cannon fire, the mortars, the machine guns, like it was all there, man. Like it was really cool. But and I like how they did a decent job of explaining like where, you know, at least we are in the current moment, because the show could get really confusing from time to time. So I hope they do that.
I think my favorite, I'm just thinking back to it now, my favorite shot or moment from the episode was when the first time the Beast Titan comes down.
Sure.
And he goes to throw those mortars at the ships, and like as he pegs the mortars, like they shoot back. Yeah. Because I did not, like they completely got me. I was like, oh, bug. And then Reiner jumps into the last second, and it's like, oh, I guess he's down for the count. And it's like the thing you were saying before about Reiner, where it's like, I feel like we could just lay this nigga down to rest, bro. Like I feel he's just taken one too many L's. I feel like because like when they're coming out of the plane, like you just get this sense of like, this dude's like punching into my clock again. Like he's just done this so many times that like, again, like I was saying before, it's like literally just the wear and tear of being the Armor Titan has like, this man, he's broken. He's like beyond repair. It's like, just put him down. Yeah. He's done. He's served his purpose. Thank you for all the things you've done, Reiner. Go die.
They were like, you are a patriot, sir, and I get the out. No, I agree. And that was a fantastic shot during it. Reiner just getting all those shells. But I mean, that was awesome too, where it was like, you know, again, to kind of, you know, not to harp too much on this point, but it's like the age of the Titans is fading, where it's like these Eastern enemies, in at least how they're depicted in this battle, like, they're not just like going to cower down in the face of that. They're like, no, that, blow that thing apart. You know what I mean? Like, we have the firepower to do it. Like, we have ways to set up, like, they're really annoying, and they're definitely, you know, something that's relevant to this fight, but like, I'll be damned if we're not going to try. So it's like, that was insane where those ships fired back. That was just in that moment where it's like, to me, it was almost like this direct middle finger to the Titans in defiance of them being like, no. You don't just get to steamroll our whole civilization or whatever like that. Although they wind up doing it, but you get my point. You know, at least like they're going to try. So it was, it was some wild stuff. And then when, you know, he does a signature baseball pitch, and then that whole poor town really got the sauce there.
Look, man, I'm just waiting to see the boys, because I'm gonna be honest, I was watching this whole episode and I was like, oh, this is cute. I would love to see Levi and his whole group of niggas just tear these dudes up real quick. Like, that's what I want. That's what I came here for. And don't get me wrong, this was beautiful Sakaka, but like, call me when the niggas show up. That's all I'm saying. Like, I want to see Levi and the squad go against the Beast Titan, Armor Titan, Mask, Mountain Titan. I don't care. All of them. Just let's go. Like, that's the war I want to see.
Yeah, that's gonna be some wild stuff. So I mean, I don't know. Any predictions, favorite scenes, anything else that we wanted to say during it? Gavin?
All right, I'll give a favorite scene, because other than the mortar one where he threw it and obviously the ships shot back, was when the Armor Titan or Reiner initially fell down and, was getting shot at, and it was like, oh, it can pierce my armor. And then, like, immediately just turns and just mollywops all of those cannons out, like, running his hand and running a 10-kilometer, dude, just going straight across, wiping him off. And he just looks over and he's like, I did that. And I was like, oh,
how about when he
you are a
blocks the one
savage.
shell with the
dude,
remaining
and just
part of his arm,
everything. Like, Reiner, he was a badass in this episode. Even though he does need to rest in peace, I did have some respect for it. I'm like, you still got it, my guy.
Oh, for
You still
sure. I
got
mean,
it.
like, Reiner is not to be slept on as a fighter or just like, in general. Seeing these prior seasons being so acclimated to the squad, Eren, Levi, et cetera, like, they got some units on their team. They got, I mean, just the trio. Eren, Mikasa, Armin.
Just the two Ackermans, if we're being
Just-
100% honest.
It's just the Ackerman. It's
Mikasa
like,
and Levi, who have no Titan powers, could probably up a good number of them Titans.
that's what I'm saying, right? It's like the whole, like, Loki, we have an army. It's like, we have a Hulk,
Yeah.
type thing. Like, but it's like, wait a minute. But yeah, so like, Reiner's had to deal with that, not to mention people like Armin with incredible brains, Erwin as the incredible commander, the Titans, Eren as a Titan, you know what I mean? All this kind of stuff. It's definitely been a tall order for him, and like, he's really done his best. And with his fractured mind, it just makes him such a like, I don't know. I pity him. I do. Like, I can't help it. I can't help it. So long as it's not Reiner against like our actual squad, again, I found myself rooting for him because I'm like, just Reiner, dude. I'm like, just
If it's cannon fodder, then I'm
yeah, then I'm
seeing.
there, man. If it's anyone besides like the OGs, man, I'm like, Reiner, bro. Like, just finish this fight and then just go home. Like, come on, you've done enough. But crazy. I would say my favorite scene, or favorite shot rather, was when that whole shot where the guys jump or are forcibly pushed or whatever out of the blimp and then turn into Titans. Just that whole thing from there to Reiner's entrance, like, that was just incredible. And the soundtrack that was playing was just fire, absolute
OST
fire.
was
Yeah,
straight
behind.
fire.
Oh, so good, dude. And they all just crash down and then just start doing their thing.
I was actually a little mad while we were watching it because I'm like, yo, just fire. And then one of you would scream every 2 seconds, and I'm like, if you niggas don't shut up so I can listen to this fire fucking track.
That's the interesting thing about doing reaction videos, right? It's like, sometimes with a show like this, I almost feel, if I had the time to like, I would like to have the time to rewatch the episode, to really like hunker down and be like, okay, let's see all the Easter eggs, etc. It's tough when you're doing a reaction because it's like, we're not playing it up. Like, it is a genuine holy this is happening, but it's a holy this is happening, but there's three of you, so it's like, it's hard sometimes because when you're not reacting, somebody else is reacting just naturally. So it just, I can't help it. Incredibly, it's just nuts. It's just like, I couldn't help but scream every 2 seconds. But anyway, I think that's all we have to say about this episode. Epic. Like I said, it was just absolutely epic. 100%. I'm super excited for where we're going. I have a feeling things are going to mellow out a little over these next couple episodes, personally, just because they can't have something like that going on every episode. Yeah. Our brains will blow up. So, curious to see how the, who they go into, whether it's one of the kids or someone else, or all the, Marleyan side of things. And then, again, just really excited to see the squad, the Levi, Ackermans, Eren. Really excited to see them in this time skip and like what they've been doing this whole time. Yeah. That's going to be a sight to see, man. I'm just super excited for where this
Daddy
season goes.
Levi rolling up, with that extra 9 years on him, just me mugging
Levi,
walking in,
Mama Mikasa.
Mama Mikasa. Oh my God, dude.
Dude,
I can't even wait.
I feel like this is like, I'm gonna be honest, I've not been a huge Eren fan the last 3 seasons. Season 3 was like, all right, it's pretty cool. But this season, it feels like we got nigga Eren, bro. It feels like we got like 100% like Chad McGee, Eren Yeager.
Dude, and Armin too. We don't even know. I feel like he's gonna
Armin with that cut. He's got the Erwin cut. He's got
I was gonna say he's definitely gonna like age into an Erwin.
like,
We're gonna look at him and be
I'm
like,
so ready because Erwin was my favorite character in the show, so I'm hoping Armin fills that role and does it even better. I'm just like, yes.
I want Armin to come up with some boss ass bomb play. Levi to be like the gunner here, who's leading the charge. Mikasa's like going around the rim, scouting and killing 900 Titans by herself. And then they're like, when like fucking, I don't know, one of the irregular Titans or whatever shows up, they're like, dropping the Jaeger bomb. Eren comes in.
The Jaeger
like,
bomb.
That is my dream episode. That's what has to happen.
You know it's gonna. So hype, man. I'm
100%.
so ready for
100%.
it. Oh, it's gonna be awesome. All right, folks, that's all we got for now. Really excited to jump right back into this next week. As you may have heard during the episode, we did do a reaction video to this. So if you guys have not seen that already, it was a great time.
What are you doing here? Check that out.
Yeah, seriously, check that out. It was fantastic. Hope you guys enjoy it. hope you guys enjoyed our discussion. Stay tuned for next week when we hit you with another reaction and another discussion. But again, let us know in those comments down below what you thought of our discussion, what you thought of this episode, what you think of Attack on Titan as a whole, what you thought of our reaction, etc. We just want to hear it. Tell us what is on your mind, especially if it has to do with Attack on Titan. But until next time, folks, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you on the flip. Peace.
Later.
Peace.
Ninjas are samurais, blaze of the kunais. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly.